Welcome to Zoe Stories. From invisible to popular overnight. They call me the safe, invisible guy at the office. I answer to Alex, short, efficient, and quietly competent. I file reports, fix email threads that no one else wants to touch, and laugh at the same jokes at lunch because it's easier than explaining myself. I keep my head down. I keep my routine. I keep my secret locked in the drawer of my bedside table, folded into soft fabric, and a little box of lipstick that I don't open unless the apartment is empty and the city is asleep. It wasn't always like this. Once, before routines calcified into habit, I thought my life would look different. Growing up, I learned quickly how to be small. At home, my father liked the football channel and short sentences. My mother, tired and practical, told me to be useful and steady. That steady sameness became armor. But there was another part of me that never fit into armor at all, a small, stubborn part that lit up at the sight of lace, the click of heels on tile, the exaggerated sweep of mascara on a face that could be mine for an hour. I cross-dress, mostly for myself. Not for a fetish, not for attention, at least not at first, but because it untangles something inside me that the rest of my life knots tighter every day. When I slip on a dress and let my shoulders soften, something shifts. My posture changes. My voice takes on a softer cadence. The apartment seems to hold its breath with me, and for those private hours I'm allowed to be a version of myself who isn't apologizing for existence. It's freedom in a zip and a smear of rouge. My job is a quiet grind at a marketing firm downtown. By day I manage deadlines, craft copy, and assemble PowerPoint decks that look like art because no one else has the patience. It's the kind of work that earns polite nods and predictable raises. It's also the sort of job where fitting in matters. People notice when you're different. So I learned to be small at work too. I train myself to be Alex, the palatable, blandly competent colleague. That was survival. And then there's Isabella. Isabella is a storm with a coffee habit. She's the kind of person who bursts into a room and rearranges its energy just by being there. We met at an after-work party. She was laughing louder than anyone. A ribbon of scarlet lipstick, eyes that asked blunt questions and expected blunt answers. She made me feel seen in one dizzying, terrifying way, not because she knew my secret, but because she made me want to reveal it. She pulled laughs out of me. She argued about movies, about art, about whether you could call chai a religion. She brought color into my otherwise grayscale afternoons. We moved in together half a year later. Her apartment is all light and plants and thrift store frames. She loves the impossible mix of secondhand chaos and curated taste. My presence there felt like a public experiment. Could the person who kept secrets in the dark live openly inside someone else's bubble? I promised myself I wouldn't ruin it. I promised myself I'd never let her find the drawer. Isabella knows I have my private corners. She knows I disappear sometimes for a night or two without giving details, and she calls it Alex time, with a wink that both consoles and confuses me. She's affectionate but blunt. If you're hiding anything messy, she told me once, we'll deal with it like adults. Secrets are like mildew. They get in the drywall. I nodded and went quiet, feeling the guilt and the relief swirl together. There are layers to our relationship that complicate everything. She is not the kind of person who tolerates dishonesty lightly. She's fiercely loyal but fiercely honest. She believes in transparency as a moral good. That belief is what makes my secret feel heavier, like a ball of lead in my ribs. I love her. I love the way she presses her forehead to mine in bed, the small rituals we share. But I also fear losing her. Not because she would necessarily leave, but because her discovery might destroy the version of me she thinks she knows. Would she see me as brave and complicated, or small and deceitful? The question sits under my tongue like an unturned coin. My apartment, our apartment, is the stage where these tensions play out. It's a cozy two-bedroom place on the third floor above a bakery that smells like cinnamon at dawn. The living room is dominated by a thrifted velvet couch, and the bedroom is a careful compromise between her organized chaos and my minimalist survival tools. The drawer where I keep my dresses and wigs is disguised beneath a stack of winter scarves. Beyond it is the box with a pair of high heels that click in my memory like a countdown. Most nights, I manage the balance. I come home from the office, kiss Isabella on the cheek, send her off to her painting class with a wave, then wait until the city thins and the shadows in our apartment grow long. I lock the door, turn off the outer lights, slide into the soft privacy of the bathroom, and become someone else. I've taught myself how to do makeup under dim light, how to pad shoulders with tissue until the silhouette reads feminine, how to fold my chest in a way that feels honest without lying. The first time I put on heels and walked across the living room carpet, I laughed in the dark because I felt both ridiculous and right in equal measure. That laugh is one of my small rebellions. But secrecy breeds a special kind of suspense. There is always the possibility, a neighbor's knock, a sudden call from Isabella, the dim glow of headlights under the blinds, that will jolt me back into their reality. The risk heightens the pleasure. It sharpens everything into a risky, electric moment of living. That risk is also why I choose small comforts, a wig that hides my jawline better than anything, a dress that isn't showy but hugs where I like being hugged, a phone alarm labeled groceries that is really my cue to change back into Alex. I'm methodical about escape routes. I fold the dress the way Isabella folds her scarves, neat, practiced, almost reverent. I don't leave makeup on the sink. I scrub off foundation with the same ritual slowness I used to put it on. The drawer closes with a soft click and the apartment breathes again. Still, the secret is alive. It has teeth. It sometimes wakes in the small hours and scratches at the wooden floor. It is a living thing that can be fed by a single comment, the wrong joke at dinner, the raised eyebrow when I linger in the mirror, and I am always waiting for the sound that says my masquerade has been found out. This is where my story begins, not in a dramatic reveal but in the careful, ordinary pressure of keeping two identities balanced on the rim of one life. I am Alex to the world and someone else when the lights go out. Isabella is everything I want and the one thing that could break me. The drawer is closed tonight. The city hums below. And somewhere between a latte at my desk and the click of my heels on the rug, something is about to change the rules of the game. If you're wondering whether I want to stay invisible forever, the honest answer is no. I want to be seen in ways that feel true, not in the flash of a secret discovered, but in the slow, steady light of acceptance. I want to test whether love can hold the shape of someone who shifts. I want to know if Isabella can love the whole mess of me, not just the tidy version she found when we moved in. But wanting and risking are different things. For now, the drawer is still shut. For now, I have this moment to breathe and tell the truth to the person I am in my head. For now, the story is only beginning, and I can already feel the first tremor of something that will not be contained. I remember the night it all began to shift. It wasn't special at first, just another Wednesday evening, the kind where Isabella had her late art class and the apartment was mine for a few hours. The sky outside was bruised purple, the kind of dusk that made everything feel uncertain. I sat at my desk, staring at spreadsheets that didn't matter, pretending to finish work when all I could think about was that drawer. Isabella texted me around 6:30. Running late tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. My pulse quickened at those words, not because of the affection, but because of the permission hidden inside them. Running late.
That meant extra time.
That meant safety. That meant I could breathe in a way I hadn't all week. I closed my laptop and crossed the room. The click of the drawer sounded louder than usual, almost defiant. My fingers trembled slightly as I lifted the folded dress from the shadows, the navy one with the subtle shimmer that made me feel both elegant and electric. I traced the fabric like it was a living thing. Beneath it lay the wig, the chest pads, the makeup kit that had become a silent confession. I hesitated as always. Every time I began, I told myself it would be the last. Every time, the reflection in the mirror convinced me otherwise. The transformation started with the small rituals, washing my face, tying my hair back, feeling my heartbeat slow to match the rhythm of the act. The first stroke of foundation was always grounding. Then came the eyeshadow, the soft flick of eyeliner that changed my gaze from tired to curious. With each movement, I felt less like Alex and more like her, The woman inside the mirror who seemed to know secrets I hadn't yet admitted. When I slid the dress over my shoulders, something clicked. The fabric hugged me perfectly tonight. I smoothed it down, watching as my figure reshaped into the silhouette that felt like home. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, a quiet rebellion against years of invisibility. I added the wig, a cascade of chestnut waves, and stepped back from the mirror. She looked back at me, confident,
Alive.
and for a moment, I forgot about everything else. That's when the idea struck me, reckless, impossible, but intoxicating. I opened my phone and scrolled through social media. Isabella had posted a story from her art class, a few classmates painting, laughing. She wasn't looking at her phone. She wouldn't be home for hours. So why not step outside? The thought terrified me. I'd never gone beyond the apartment dressed like this. But something about tonight felt different. Maybe the loneliness, maybe the growing need to be seen instead of hidden. I stared at the front door. My heart pounded so hard it made my hands tremble. Just 1 minute outside, I whispered to myself, just to feel the air. I slipped into Isabella's coat, oversized, soft, the perfect disguise, and opened the door. The hallway light flickered as if warning me to turn back. I hesitated again, but the thrill overpowered the fear. My heels clicked softly on the tile as I walked down the stairs. Outside, the world smelled like rain. The bakery downstairs had closed, leaving the faint aroma of sugar and coffee in the air. The street was quiet except for the hum of traffic far away. It was peaceful. For the first time, I wasn't Alex sneaking around. I was her, walking, breathing, existing under the same sky as everyone else. But then, the unexpected happened. "Hey, excuse me." I froze. A voice, male, confident, a little amused, came from behind me. I turned slowly to see a young man holding out a dropped scarf. "You dropped this," he said with a friendly smile. I realized it wasn't mine, it was Isabella's. She must have left it in the coat pocket. "Oh, thank you," I murmured, instinctively pitching my voice higher. He studied me for a second, his eyes curious but kind. "You new around here? Haven't seen you before." My heart hammered. He thinks I'm a woman. "Just visiting," I managed, clutching the scarf like a lifeline. "Well, welcome to the neighborhood," he said, giving a small wave before walking away. As he disappeared into the night, I exhaled shakily. My knees felt weak, not from fear but from something else. Validation.
Thrill.
The surreal feeling of having been seen, truly seen as the person I had only ever been in private. I walked back upstairs on unsteady legs, every step buzzing with adrenaline. Inside, the apartment felt different. Bigger, almost alive. I looked in the mirror again and smiled. My reflection smiled back, confident, radiant, daring. I wasn't invisible anymore. That night I didn't change back immediately. I cooked dinner in the dress, poured a glass of wine, and sat by the window watching the city lights blur into a soft dream. I imagined what it would be like to live like this all the time, to not have to hide, to not be split in two. But dreams are dangerous things. At 10:47, my phone buzzed again. "Hey love, I might come home early." The class wrapped up quick. My blood ran cold. My hands flew to the mirror. Makeup smudged. Wig slightly crooked. Dress wrinkled from sitting too long. The panic hit like a punch, the kind that empties your lungs. I dashed to the bedroom, almost tripping over the rug. In 30 seconds, the safe fantasy became a crisis. I yanked the wig off, wiped at the lipstick, threw the dress into the drawer, and changed into sweats. The mirror reflected a half-destroyed illusion, mascara smeared across cheeks, foundation uneven. The sound of keys in the lock froze me mid-motion. "Alex." Isabella's voice was casual, humming. "You still awake?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, just finishing some work." She appeared in the doorway, eyes warm and tired. "Work at this hour? You're such a machine." She leaned in, kissed me, and then frowned. Her fingers brushed my cheek. "You smell different." "Like perfume?" My pulse spiked. Soap." I lied, forcing a laugh. Changed brands. She smiled faintly, but her gaze lingered on me longer than usual before shrugging it off. Well, save your spreadsheets. Come to bed. I missed you. As she disappeared into the bedroom, I stood frozen by the mirror, still catching glimpses of the other me in the faint residue of lipstick on my lips. That was the first night I realized how thin the line had become between fantasy and exposure. And deep down, beneath the fear, a dangerous thought began to take root. Maybe being invisible wasn't what I wanted anymore. The next few days were a haze of nerves and curiosity. Every time Isabella left for work or class, I'd catch myself glancing toward that drawer, half terrified, half tempted. That night on the street had changed something in me. The stranger's simple greeting echoed in my head like a mantra. You knew around here? He hadn't seen his secret.
He'd seen me.
But that validation carried a dangerous weight. I felt like a diver who had tasted the surface air after years underwater, desperate for more but terrified of drowning if I surfaced again. On Friday morning, Isabella and I sat across from each other at breakfast. She was scrolling through her phone, hair tied in a loose bun, humming softly. Big weekend plans? She asked, not looking up. I forced a smile. Probably just catch up on work. Maybe watch something. You. Art fair downtown, she said brightly. You should come. They're doing this interactive photo booth thing you can get styled like a makeover theme. The fork froze halfway to my mouth. A makeover booth. My mind lit up, imagining it, standing there while someone else brushed color onto my face, adjusting hair, maybe even a dress. But Isabella didn't notice my momentary panic. Anyway, it'll be fun. If you're not swamped, come by. Yeah, maybe, I said quietly, pretending to check my phone. When she left for work, the silence felt like an invitation again. That afternoon, I couldn't resist. I told myself it was just for an hour. Just enough to feel that version of me again, the one who didn't apologize for existing. I opened the drawer. The shimmer of the dress greeted me like an old friend. But this time, I tried something new, Isabella's red lipstick. The bold one she wore when she wanted to be noticed. I hesitated, holding the tube in my hand, then twisted it open. The smell of cherry and spice filled the air. When I pressed it to my lips, the transformation felt complete. Bolder, louder, impossible to hide. I caught my reflection in the mirror and whispered, "You look amazing." For the first time, I took a few photos. Carefully angled, anonymous shots, nothing that could expose me. But they looked real. They looked like someone who belonged. I didn't notice Isabella's forgotten tablet glowing faintly on the dresser. I didn't realize it was synced to the same cloud account as her phone. That night, I went to bed happier than I'd felt in months. But Saturday morning, something felt off. Isabella was quiet, too quiet. She watched me with a strange focus, like she was studying a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Over coffee, she finally said it. "Alex, weird question." My heart skipped. "Yeah. Did you take some photos yesterday?" The mug trembled in my hands. "Photos? What kind of photos?" She frowned, confused. On the tablet, I saw some pictures auto-sync. They looked artistic. But they weren't me, and they weren't exactly, she trailed off, studying my face. I tried to laugh it off. Probably a glitch. Maybe an ad. She tilted her head. Maybe. I deleted them. They just freaked me out a little. My stomach dropped. Deleted. She'd seen them. I nodded quickly, pretending to be unbothered. Yeah, probably nothing. She smiled faintly, but didn't look convinced. You tell me if something was up, right? Of course. That smile, soft but searching, followed me all day. When she left for the art fair that afternoon, I felt the weight of her words pressing down on me. You tell me if something was up, right? I opened the drawer again, staring at the dress. I should have burned it, hidden it better,
Done something.
but I couldn't. Instead, I reached for a new outfit, a soft pink sweater and skirt combination I'd bought online months ago but never dared to wear. My hands shook as I pulled it on. The fit was perfect, almost too perfect. I felt my throat tighten, fear, yes, but also pride. The mirror reflected someone softer, more confident. My heart pounded as I whispered, "You're real. You deserve to exist." I didn't hear the door open.
Alex.
The voice was Isabella's, confused, sharp, too close. Time froze. I turned, half-dressed, half-transformed, and saw her standing there, wide-eyed, frozen in the doorway. The silence between us stretched into eternity. For a moment, no one breathed. Then, quietly, Isabella said, "Oh my God." I wanted to speak, to explain, to say something that would make sense of this, but words refused to come. She blinked rapidly, eyes flicking from the wig to the makeup on the counter, to the skirt I was still clutching in shock. It's not," I stammered, voice cracking. But Isabella held up a hand. Her face was pale, her voice calm but trembling. Just don't say anything right now." She turned away before I could move. The sound of the door closing was like a punch. I sank to the floor, breathless, every nerve on fire. The mask was gone. The fantasy shattered. The drawer, my sanctuary, was no longer a secret. And in that moment, I realized the cruel irony of it all. I'd spent years hiding, terrified of being seen. And now that I finally was, it might destroy everything. The apartment felt hollow after she left. Her perfume still lingered in the air, lavender and rain, mixing with the faint scent of foundation on my hands. The silence pressed against me, thick and punishing. I sat there on the floor, half-dressed, my reflection a distorted blur in the mirror. The door had closed softly, but its echo kept replaying in my head. For the first time, I didn't rush to hide the clothes. I just stared. My chest rose and fell too fast, my pulse hammering in my throat. It was over. The secret, the safety, the invisible life I'd built, all gone. But beneath the panic, another emotion simmered. Not just fear. Something sharper. Relief. Because she knew now. The burden wasn't just mine anymore. That thought scared me more than anything. I changed out of the clothes eventually, folded them carefully, and placed them back into the drawer, as if that could somehow undo what had happened. My hands shook the whole time. I felt like an actor caught mid-scene, stripped of costume and script, left to face the audience naked and confused. The hours passed slowly. Each minute felt like waiting for a verdict. By the time Isabella finally returned that night, the sky was black. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to read, my stomach in knots. The sound of her key in the lock made me sit up straight. She entered quietly. No smile. No casual greeting. Just a heavy stillness that filled the room. She dropped her bag on the counter, then stood there for a moment, back turned to me. "Isabella," I started. She didn't move. "How long?" The question landed like a blade. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She turned, eyes red but dry. "How long, Alex?" My throat tightened. "Years," I whispered. "Before you. Before us." She crossed her arms, looking at me like she was seeing a stranger. "And you never thought to tell me?" I wanted to. I just what? Didn't trust me? "It wasn't about trust," I said quickly. "It was about fear. About losing you." That softened her expression. Just a flicker, but it was enough. She sat down across from me, hands clenched. "Was this just curiosity?" she asked quietly. "Or is it something deeper? I need to know what this means." The question made my chest ache. I searched for words that could contain the truth. "It's not a game," I said finally. "It's not about pretending to be someone else. It's about," I hesitated, then exhaled, "finally being someone I can breathe as. It's the only time I feel whole. When I dress up, it's not hiding. It's revealing." Her lips parted, but she said nothing. I looked down. "I know it's a shock. I never wanted you to find out this way." Silence stretched again. Then, softly, "So the person I saw, that was you?" I nodded. She swallowed hard. "You looked happy." That hit me like a tidal wave. I didn't expect her to say that. She stood up and walked to the window, back turned. "I'm not angry," she said finally. "Just lost. I don't know where I fit in this version of you." I stood too. You fit exactly where you've always been. I love you, Isabella. That hasn't changed. She turned, eyes glossy. But maybe you have. The truth of that hung in the air.
We didn't sleep together that night.
She stayed in the bedroom. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the fridge and the city outside. My mind replayed everything, her face, her voice, the moment of discovery. In the stillness, one thought kept haunting me. Maybe this was the beginning of something, not just an ending. The next morning, she didn't leave for work right away. She sat beside me on the couch, coffee mug in hand.
Her tone was calmer now, measured.
Alex, she said quietly, I did some thinking last night, and I don't want to shame you. I just need honesty.
From now on,
no more hiding. I nodded, eyes wet. You have it. I promise.
Then show me, she said.
The words hit harder than any accusation. I blinked. What do you mean? Show me what this means to you, she said, her tone gentle but firm. Not the secret version. The real one. If we're going to make sense of this, I need to see it, all of it. My stomach flipped. The thought of dressing in front of her made my pulse race, not out of excitement this time, but sheer vulnerability. Isabella, She reached out, touched my hand.
Please.
I don't want to imagine the wrong thing. There was no judgment in her eyes. Just confusion, curiosity, and something fragile underneath. Love, maybe, still fighting to survive. I nodded slowly. Okay. She waited quietly as I went to the drawer, my hands trembling again. I pulled out the navy dress, the wig, the makeup kit. My heart pounded so hard I thought she could hear it. As I began to get ready, the air felt different, heavier, real. The quiet hum of the room made every sound louder. The brush of fabric, the click of the lipstick cap, the faint tremor in my breath. Isabella watched in silence, her expression unreadable. When I finally turned around, fully dressed, heart exposed, she didn't speak right away. She just looked. I wanted to disappear under that gaze. Then, softly, she said, You look beautiful. The word hit me like sunlight after a storm. I blinked, speechless. But, she added gently, I don't know who I'm talking to right now. Is this Alex? Or someone else? I hesitated, then whispered, It's still me. Just the version I keep buried. She nodded slowly, tears glimmering in her eyes. Then maybe it's time to stop burying her. Her words left me trembling. For the first time, she reached out and touched my cheek, not in confusion or pity, but with a quiet acceptance that broke something open inside me. I didn't know if she understood everything. I didn't know if she could. But that moment, her hand, her gaze, her words, felt like a bridge across an impossible distance. And yet, even as relief washed through me, a new fear began to form. Because sometimes, when the truth comes into the light, it doesn't stop there. It keeps growing, changing, revealing more than you're ready to see. And deep down, I could feel it. This was only the beginning of the storm. The next few days were strange. We didn't talk about what happened, not directly. But something had shifted. The air between us was charged, not with anger anymore, but curiosity, almost fascination. Isabella watched me differently now. Sometimes I'd catch her eyes lingering when I adjusted my sleeves or brushed my hair back. Other times, I'd find her studying the drawer where I kept everything, the one that used to be my secret. Then one night, she came home with a bag. Big, glossy, expensive looking. I got you something, she said with a little smile. My heart jumped. For me? She nodded. Consider it an experiment. For both of us. I opened the bag slowly. Inside was a soft blush pink dress, a pair of matching heels, and a silver choker. Everything about it screamed elegance and danger. I don't know what to say, I whispered. Say you'll try it on, she said gently. There was something playful in her tone, but also a glint of control, a quiet authority I hadn't seen before. I hesitated. Right now? She smiled. Yes. Right now. I did as she asked. The fabric slid over my skin like liquid light. When I finally turned toward her, she stood there, arms folded, studying every inch of me. "You're getting better at this," she murmured. "You move differently. It's almost natural now." I flushed, half proud, half terrified. "It's not. I mean, I'm still just." She cut me off softly. "You don't have to explain. I can see it." The moment stretched, thick with something unspoken. Then she stepped closer, reached out, and straightened the choker around my neck.
"There," she said.
"Perfect." Her touch sent a shiver down my spine. From that night on, she began to take charge, slowly, subtly. It started with small things. She'd suggest a shade of lipstick, a hairstyle, a perfume. At first, it felt like support, like she was helping me understand myself.
But then the tone began to change.
She started calling me by a different name. "Ally," she said one morning, almost casually. I blinked. "What?"
"It suits you," she said.
"When you're like this, when you're her." The name hung in the air. I didn't correct her.
Somehow it fit.
But what scared me was how easily I responded to it.
"Ally."
The name felt warm, familiar, like it had always been waiting for me. By the end of the week, my life began to blur. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't just see Alex anymore. I saw someone else forming in the reflection, piece by piece. A stranger who felt more real than the person I'd been before. Isabella encouraged it. "Let's see what she can do," she'd say, smiling. One evening, she invited a few friends over, women I'd met before, but this time she introduced me differently. "This is Ally," she said effortlessly, her hand on my back. The room spun. They didn't question it. They smiled, complimented my dress, and pulled me into their conversation like it was the most natural thing in the world. For 2 hours, I played along. I laughed, adjusted my voice, crossed my legs delicately, careful with every gesture. But as the night went on, something terrifying happened. I stopped pretending. The mask became my face. When they left, Isabella turned to me, eyes shining with a strange satisfaction. "You were perfect," she whispered. My lips trembled. "You shouldn't have." "Why not?" she interrupted. "You looked alive. Don't you see it? This isn't about shame anymore. It's about becoming." Her words echoed like a spell. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind torn between two selves, Alex, the quiet, invisible man who'd hidden for years, and Ally, the woman who'd been born from a secret and set free by someone else's daring. In the dark, I whispered her name. "Ally." And the voice that answered didn't sound like mine anymore. Days turned into weeks. Each morning, Isabella would bring something new, foundation, lashes, a wig styled differently. She guided me, taught me, molded me. "You're getting there," she'd whisper. "Soon you won't even need me to tell you who you are." I tried to laugh it off, but deep down, her words scared me. Because I knew she was right. One evening, as I stood before the mirror, fully dressed in one of her chosen outfits, I caught sight of her reflection behind me. She was watching closely, her expression unreadable. Then she said it, the line that marked the end of the build-up and the beginning of something irreversible. "Alex," she whispered, "I think it's time we let her take over for real." I turned slowly, heart pounding. "What do you mean?" Her eyes glimmered. "No more pretending. No more switching back. I've seen how happy you are like this. Let's stop fighting it." My stomach dropped. "You can't be serious." She smiled faintly, brushing a strand of my wig aside. "Oh, I'm very serious." Her voice was soft, but the certainty behind it was terrifying. She leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. "From now on, you're not Alex. You're Ally, my beautiful, confident girl." And before I could respond, she kissed me, deeply, possessively, sealing something inside me that I didn't understand. When she pulled back, I could barely breathe. The reflection in the mirror didn't look like a disguise anymore. It looked like the truth. And somewhere deep inside, a part of me, the quiet, hidden part, whispered that maybe she was right. Maybe it was time to stop fighting. Maybe this was who I was meant to be. But another voice, faint and trembling, still tried to speak. What if she's not helping you? What if she's changing you? That question lingered as I stood frozen in front of the mirror, halfway between two lives, feeling both beautiful and trapped. And in Isabella's smile, I saw something that wasn't love anymore. It was possession. Something inside me shivered, knowing the real storm hadn't even started yet. Morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, soft and golden, yet I felt cold. I stood in front of the mirror again, not by choice this time, but because Isabella insisted. The night before, she had whispered, "Tomorrow, we start fresh. No more half measures." I didn't know what that meant, but the way she said it sent a tremor through me. Now she was behind me again, her hands gently resting on my shoulders. "Look at her," Isabella murmured, her reflection smiling faintly beside mine. "You can't even see Alex anymore, can you?" My throat tightened. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I could still see Alex. Buried deep, trapped behind eyeliner and lipstick, but still there. Or maybe that's just what I told myself. Isabella moved closer, her perfume flooding my senses. Jasmine, vanilla, and something darker underneath. "You don't need to be afraid," she whispered. "You've spent your whole life hiding. Don't you think it's time you were seen?" Her voice was honeyed poison. I wanted to protest, to tell her this wasn't what I wanted, but she turned me around before I could speak. She handed me a new outfit. Not one of her old ones. This one was different. "It was mine," she said. A sleek, shimmering black dress that hugged every curve I didn't know I had. I hesitated. "I can't wear that outside." She smiled softly. "Who said anything about outside?" Her tone made my heart skip. I changed, slowly, reluctantly. Each movement felt heavier, like I was stepping deeper into someone else's life. The dress fit too perfectly. The heels, the jewelry, the soft waves of the wig, everything coordinated. Too well. When I looked in the mirror again, I saw her, ally. Beautiful.
Poised. Complete.
Isabella circled me like an artist admiring her work. "Perfect," she whispered. "You have no idea what this does to me." I turned to face her, confused. "What is this to you, Isabella?" Her smile faltered. "It's truth. It's honesty. It's what you've been afraid of." I shook my head.
"No."
"It's what you've been making me into." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then she spoke, her voice suddenly sharp. "You think I'm forcing this? I'm not the one who smiles when she puts on lipstick. I'm not the one who stays up at night practicing her walk." Her words cut deep. I wanted to argue, but she wasn't wrong. Something inside me had changed, something I couldn't undo. I trailed off. "I don't want to lose myself." Her expression softened again, but her eyes didn't. "You're not losing yourself, Alex," she said quietly. "You're just becoming the person you were always meant to be." I turned away, breathing hard. The reflection stared back at me, her reflection. That's when I noticed something chilling. On the vanity, beside the mirror, was a folder. My name, Alex Morgan, printed neatly on the tab. I opened it, curiosity winning over fear. Inside were photos.
Dozens of them. Pictures of me.
In makeup. In dresses. Laughing.
Crying.
Even when I didn't remember, me asleep in a wig, lips parted, eyeliner still perfect. I froze. "Isabella, what is this?" She didn't answer right away. She just watched me with an unreadable expression. "You weren't ready to see those yet," she finally said. My stomach turned. "You took these? Without telling me?" "I had to," she said quietly. "Because I knew you'd forget how beautiful you looked. You always deny what's right in front of you." Her calm tone made it worse. I dropped the photos back onto the vanity, my hands shaking. "This isn't love, Isabella. This is." She stepped closer. "Obsession," she finished for me. "Maybe. But don't pretend you don't feel it too."
The words hit me like a slap.
Because somewhere inside I did feel it, the rush, the thrill, the danger. I hated how alive I felt in that moment. She touched my cheek. "You've been invisible your whole life. Forgotten. Overlooked. But now, when people look at you, they see you. Isn't that what you've always wanted?" I swallowed hard. My voice broke when I finally spoke. At what cost? Her eyes softened just a little. Sometimes to find yourself, you have to lose everything else. She leaned in again, slow, deliberate, and kissed me.
It was softer this time. Sadder.
Almost like a goodbye. When she pulled back, her voice was trembling. I need you to trust me. Just a little longer. I wanted to ask why, but before I could, she turned away, opened a drawer, and pulled out something small, a thin silver chain with a charm shaped like a mirror. Wear this tonight, she said quietly. You'll understand soon. I didn't argue. I just nodded numbly, slipping the chain over my neck. But as I looked down, I noticed something engraved on the charm. A single word.
Ally.
My hands went cold. When I looked up again, Isabella was watching me with tears in her eyes. This is who you are now, she whispered. From tonight on, there's no going back. The air seemed to thicken. The light dimmed. And deep down, I knew she wasn't talking about a game anymore. The night was heavy with anticipation. I sat on the edge of the bed, the silver charm resting against my collarbone. The word ally engraved on it glimmered faintly in the dim light, like a warning I couldn't ignore. My hands trembled as I traced the letters. Isabella watched me from across the room, her expression unreadable. The playful curiosity from before had vanished. Now there was a sharp intensity in her gaze, something that made my stomach twist. You look amazing, she said softly, stepping closer. But you don't realize how far you've come. I looked up at her, voice shaking. I don't know who I am anymore. Her smile was small but firm. Then let's figure it out together. Together. The word echoed ominously. She handed me a box. Inside were more outfits, more accessories, and a set of instructions. She had organized everything. Every look, every detail, every step of the transformation. This week, she said, you'll live entirely as ally. No Alex. No hiding. Just her. I froze. Entirely? You mean, I can't go back? Her expression softened slightly.
Not yet.
Maybe never. But you'll understand why. I swallowed hard. The thrill from before now mixed with fear. I had wanted to explore this side of me, yes. But the reality of living entirely as ally, day and night, seen by everyone, controlled by Isabella, was suffocating. She leaned closer, whispering into my ear. Tonight, we start with a small party. Just a few friends. You'll meet them as ally, and you'll see how natural it feels. I wanted to protest. But she had a way of looking at me that made me pause, made me doubt if the protest was really mine to make. By the time I stepped into the dress she picked, black lace hugging curves I hadn't noticed before, and the heels clicking on the floor, the apartment had transformed into a runway. Soft lights, mirrors, music playing low. Look at yourself, Isabella whispered. See who you can be.
I did.
And I didn't like what I saw. The reflection was mesmerizing, beautiful, confident, but also someone else. Someone I barely recognized. When the first guest arrived, I realized the stakes. They didn't see Alex. They only saw ally. They complimented, flirted, laughed. And I had to respond. Every movement, every word, every smile had to fit the character. By the second guest, I was forgetting to breathe as Alex. Ally was taking over. The night continued, each guest reinforcing the illusion. Each compliment, each approving glance, tightened the invisible chains Isabella had wrapped around me. And then a sharp knock at the door. My heart froze. Isabella didn't flinch. She walked to the door and opened it. A neighbor. Someone I hadn't seen in months. Casual. Curious. But their eyes fell on me. Ally. And their smile froze. Oh, hi, they said, eyes darting. Alex's friend. Isabella said smoothly, taking my arm. She's just helping me with something. The neighbor smiled awkwardly, nodding, but something in their gaze lingered too long. Suspicion. Interest. I could feel it crawling up my spine. Every laugh, every compliment, every touch from Isabella before suddenly felt like a trap. Later that night, alone in my room, I stared at the mirror. Ally's face looked back at me. Beautiful, flawless, glowing. But my chest felt tight. Somewhere inside, Alex was screaming, trying to claw back control. But the longer I looked, the weaker Alex felt. The silver charm against my collarbone glinted under the lamp. Ally, a whisper in my mind, faint but relentless. She's not letting you go. And in the dark, I realized the terrifying truth. Ally wasn't just a version of me anymore. She was becoming me. The following week felt like a dream I couldn't wake from. Every morning, Isabella handed me outfits, carefully curated from her collection. Each one bolder than the last, tighter, shinier, more revealing. She guided my every movement, the tilt of my head, the angle of my smile, even how I spoke. I followed, almost mechanically, my reflection staring back like a stranger I was beginning to admire or fear. "You look perfect," Isabella said one morning as she adjusted a strand of my wig. "Today, we meet the whole group. You'll see what happens when the world meets Ally." I swallowed. The world. Not just a friend here or there, everyone. My heart raced, the old Alex inside panicking at the thought of complete exposure. When we arrived at the small gathering, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, the first thing I noticed was the way they looked at me.
Ally.
No one called me Alex. No one expected anything different. They laughed at my jokes, complimented my makeup, and even flirted subtly, assuming Ally was just another confident, social girl. I tried to respond as Alex, but the words felt wrong. Each smile, each laugh, was louder, higher-pitched, softer. All wrong in Alex's voice, but perfect in Ally's. Isabella noticed immediately. She leaned close, whispering, "See? This is you. This is the part you hide, the part everyone deserves to see." The thrill and the panic collided inside me. I was visible,
Desired.
admired, but Alex was disappearing. By the second hour, I realized I was no longer in control. Every glance in the room reinforced Ally. Every compliment, every touch, every gaze pushed me further away from Alex. And then, the unexpected. A colleague I had known for years, someone who never knew about my secret, walked into the room. Their eyes widened. "Alex? Wait, is that you?" Time froze. I felt every heartbeat echo, like a drum in my chest. Isabella stepped forward smoothly, her hand resting lightly on my lower back. "This is Ally," she said, her voice calm, commanding. "She's someone very special." The colleague blinked, confusion flashing. "But I thought." Isabella smiled. "She's exactly what she seems. Ally is who she is." I swallowed, voice trembling. I'm Ally now." The words tasted foreign, terrifying. My old life was unraveling before my eyes. Every step, every smile, every laugh reinforced the illusion. Ally was replacing Alex completely. The colleague hesitated, then nodded slowly. "You look amazing." A strange wave of relief washed over me, but it was shallow. Inside, Alex was screaming, trapped behind layers of makeup, dresses, and heels. By the end of the night, Isabella and I returned home. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I sank onto the couch, exhausted, trembling. The adrenaline of public exposure had left me raw and fragile. Isabella sat beside me, hand warm on mine. "You did great tonight. More than I ever imagined." I looked at her, voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know who I am anymore." She smiled softly, brushing a strand of my wig behind my ear.
Ally. You are Ally.
And Alex, well, Alex is still here, somewhere deep inside. But maybe it's time to let her breathe. Her words were comforting and terrifying all at once. I ran my fingers over the silver charm at my neck.
Ally.
It glinted softly in the lamplight, reflecting both my fear and my fascination. For the first time, I realized something crucial. I wasn't just dressing up anymore. I was being rewritten. And deep down, I wondered, did I even want to fight it anymore? The following days were a blur. Ally had become my default, my reflection, my public persona. Every mirror, every window, every polished surface reflected her back at me, confident, beautiful, flawless. And every time, Alex, the quiet, invisible man I had been, shrank a little further, swallowed by the persona Isabella had nurtured. It wasn't just clothes, makeup, or hair anymore. It was movement, posture, voice. Ally was now instinctive. Alex had no say. And Isabella, she thrived in it. She became more possessive, more controlling, guiding me like a sculptor perfecting her masterpiece. One evening, she called me into the living room. "I've arranged something special," she said, her eyes glimmering with mischief and authority. "A photo shoot. Professional. For you." I froze. A photo shoot? "Yes," she said softly. "Ally needs to be seen. The world needs to see her." My stomach twisted. The thought of exposing myself, of being photographed and remembered as Ally for everyone to see, made my pulse spike. I don't know if I... She interrupted gently but firmly. "Alex, look at me." I did. "You've been hiding for too long. Ally is not a mask. She's a truth. Trust me. Let her out." I swallowed hard. My hands shook as I changed into one of her most daring dresses. It was black, sequined, with a daring slit up the side, paired with sky-high heels. My body felt foreign, powerful, vulnerable, sexy. When I stepped in front of the camera, professional lights illuminating every curve and angle, I froze. "Relax," Isabella whispered from behind. "Breathe. Become her. Be Ally." And I did. Or at least, Ally did. The camera clicked, capturing smiles, poses, confidence, everything Alex never had. I felt my identity fracturing with each flash. Halfway through, I stumbled in the heels, nearly falling. The crew laughed lightly, but Isabella's hand steadied me. "You're perfect," she whispered fiercely. "Don't let anyone take that from you." My heart raced. Fear and exhilaration mingled. I realized with a jolt, this wasn't just transformation. It was domination. Isabella had claimed me, body and soul, and the lines between self and persona blurred dangerously. By the end of the session, my legs ached. My voice was hoarse from forcing the high-pitched laughter, my mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Alone later, staring at the photos on Isabella's laptop, I almost didn't recognize myself. Ally's eyes sparkled back, confident and bold. Alex's voice inside me whispered faintly, a shadow drowned in makeup and sequins. "Who are you?" I swallowed the panic. "I'm Ally," I said softly, almost convincing myself. Isabella appeared behind me, her presence overwhelming. She leaned over my shoulder, her warm breath brushing my hair. "Good," she said, her hand resting on my arm possessively. "This is just the beginning." And I realized she was right. I was no longer just exploring a persona. Ally was replacing Alex. The person I had been was fading, and Isabella was guiding me into a life I didn't yet fully understand. My chest tightened, a mix of exhilaration and terror. Was this freedom? Or was it imprisonment? And as I looked at my reflection again, I saw her smile, Ally's confident, seductive smile, staring back, bold and unapologetic. I didn't recognize Alex anymore. And deep down, I wasn't sure I wanted to. The night was thick with anticipation and tension. Isabella had planned a private showcase, just the two of us, but staged like an event. Mirrors lined the walls, lights softened and focused on me, the center of attention. Every detail screamed perfection. Every shadow felt deliberate, every movement calculated. I stood before the largest mirror in the room, fully dressed, fully made up, completely Ally. The reflection didn't just look back. It demanded recognition. Confident, elegant, poised, unstoppable. But inside, Alex fought. Every inch of me remembered the old life, the quiet, the invisible, the hidden. And yet, Ally moved naturally, her smile unfaltering. She laughed softly, twirling in the skirt Isabella had chosen. Isabella approached, her hand brushing mine lightly. "Look at yourself," she whispered. "This is who you were always meant to be." My chest tightened. "But what if I can't?" She cut me off with a gentle, commanding tone. "Don't fight it. Stop resisting. Let her breathe. Let her live. The charm at my neck glinted. Ally. Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the apartment. My heart skipped. Who? I stammered. Isabella's smile shifted.
Sharp, knowing.
Go see. I hesitated, dread curling in my stomach. I wasn't ready for anyone to see me like this. Not yet. Not fully. You have to, she whispered. Or, it won't feel real. Trembling, I opened the door. A delivery person. Innocuous. But they froze, staring at me. Ally, and smiled awkwardly. A package for Alex, they asked. I froze. Ally's presence dominated my body. I couldn't speak as Alex. Isabella stepped forward, intercepting the awkwardness. She's Ally now, she said confidently. You'll see soon. The delivery person nodded, backing away quickly, leaving the package and a tension in the air I couldn't shake. I closed the door, breathing heavily. Do you feel it? Isabella asked softly, her hands on my shoulders. The moment of truth? Ally is real now. Alex is to memory. A shiver ran through me. I didn't want to admit it, but she was right. Every fiber of my being, every gesture, every thought was Ally now. And yet the fear remained. Was this liberation or complete control? I looked in the mirror. Ally's reflection smiled back. Bold, confident, alive. Alex whispered faintly, almost drowned. Is this really me? I couldn't answer. Isabella leaned closer, brushing my hair behind my ear. From now on, she said softly, you are hers. No going back. Do you understand?
My throat went dry.
The adrenaline, the fear, the exhilaration, it all collided. Yes, I whispered. And deep down, I knew the truth. Ally had won. But somewhere, deep inside, Alex's voice lingered, fragile but defiant. This isn't over. The lights dimmed. The mirrors reflected me endlessly. Ally multiplied in every angle. Isabella's shadow loomed behind. And I realized the storm had only just begun. Because now everyone could see her. The apartment was silent except for the soft hum of the city outside. I stood in front of the mirror one last time before bed, fully dressed, fully made up, every inch of me radiating Ally. The reflection was mesmerizing, confident, poised, alive. But beneath the surface, a storm raged.
Alex.
He whispered faintly from some hidden corner of my mind, a shadow trapped beneath layers of makeup and sequins. This isn't me. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling as I touched the silver charm Isabella had given me. Ally. The name felt both comforting and suffocating, like a spell I couldn't undo. Isabella appeared behind me, her presence warm, intoxicating, and commanding all at once. You did well tonight, she said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. More than I ever imagined. I turned, my voice barely audible. But what if I can't keep doing this? Her eyes softened, but her grip on my wrist was firm. You're not just doing it. You are it. Ally isn't a disguise anymore. She's real. And the world needs her. I tried to breathe, tried to find Alex in the reflection, but Ally stared back, fearless, bold, alive. A sudden noise, the doorbell, shattered the quiet. My pulse spiked. Who could it be at this hour? Isabella's smile was small, knowing.
Go see.
This is part of your test. I hesitated. Fear and adrenaline mingled. This wasn't just a visitor. This could be someone who would expose everything. I opened the door slowly. A figure stood there, silhouetted in the hallway light.
Tall.
Familiar.
And smiling.
Alex. I whispered. The figure stepped forward, and my heart froze.
It wasn't Alex.
It was someone who knew Alex. Someone who knew the life I had before Ally. The visitor's eyes scanned me, Ally, from head to toe. They didn't smile awkwardly. They didn't blink in surprise. They studied me. And then they said my old name, Alex. The sound of it made my knees go weak. The world tilted. Ally faltered. Isabella stepped up beside me, her hand sliding around my waist, a shield and a claim all in one. "She's not Alex anymore," she said, her voice calm but edged with warning.
"She's Ally."
The visitor's lips curved into a slow, knowing smile.
"I see."
"Ally, huh? Interesting choice. But are you sure you're ready for everyone to see her? Because once people know, there's no going back." The words hit like a hammer. I opened my mouth to answer, but Ally's voice came instead. Confident. Bold. I am. Alex screamed silently from the depths of my mind, a panic I couldn't voice. "No. This isn't right." Isabella tightened her hold.
"Good.
That's what I like to hear." The visitor's eyes flicked between the two of us, a dangerous glint in their gaze. "You've done a lot of work, but the world doesn't always accept who you choose to be. Are you ready for what comes next?" I felt the ground shift beneath me. Ally braced herself, but Alex was trapped, screaming in silence. I looked at Isabella, searching for comfort, for guidance, for some anchor. She smiled, but her eyes carried an edge I hadn't seen before, a promise and a warning all at once. "Don't worry," she whispered softly. "I've got you. We'll handle this together. Ally is ready for the world." I nodded, though my chest felt like it would burst. Ally was ready, yes. But Alex was fading fast. The visitor took a step closer, their smile widening. "We'll see how ready she really is. Because once the truth comes out, nothing will ever be the same." And then, as suddenly as they arrived, they stepped back into the shadows. The door clicked shut behind them, leaving only the echo of their warning in the air. I sank to the floor, my knees weak, the silver charm pressing against my chest.
"Ally."
The reflection in the mirror stared back, confident, fearless, glowing. And yet, I could still feel Alex, whispering from some distant corner. "This isn't over." Isabella knelt beside me, brushing my hair away from my face. "Sure," she murmured. "Let her handle it. Ally can do this. Trust her." I looked at her, at the reflection, at the charm. Ally was real. Ally was alive. Ally was me, or at least what I had become. But deep inside, a small, defiant voice, Alex, whispered, trembling but unbroken. "This isn't who I wanted to be." The city lights flickered through the window, casting shadows across the room. The air felt electric, charged with danger, thrill, and the unknown. Outside, the world was waiting. And inside, I realized with a jolt, once Ally stepped into it, there was no turning back. Not tonight. Not ever. And as I stared into the mirror one last time before darkness fell, I knew the cliffhanger truth. Ally had won the battle for visibility, for power, for control. But the war for identity was only beginning.